Hello, movie fans. Hello. My name's Alberto, aka Destroyer 48. The day has finally arrived. Um, it has arrived. I have to take deep breaths. Today, I'm gonna do one of my favorite movies, my top two movies, and it's about. It's called From Dusk Till Dawn. It's starring George Clooney as Seth Gecko, Quentin Tarantino as Richard Gecko, Salma Hayek as Satanico Pandemonium. Hopefully I said it right. Harvey Keitel as Jacob Fuller, and Julia Lewis as Kate Fuller. Now I really need to take a breath because I'm really nervous doing this because this is like my top two favorite movies of all time, and they are from the horror category, and it's kind of like horror for sure, but with action as well because there's action into this. All right, I'm just gonna jump into it. Oh my gosh, I can never be ready for this moment. I can never be prepared for this moment. So we're just gonna same old thing. Except this is really important to me. This movie because I watched it several times. I watched it with a buddy of mine. We almost became obsessed with this movie, and we thought it was like one of the coolest things ever, or the coolest thing ever at that time and point. Um, so I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over scenes. I ain't gonna do a last spoiler alert. I'm not gonna give away the ending. Uh, because I enjoyed it so much. I don't want to spoil the end, but I want to go over you scenes of the film and see if it's your cup of tea if you want to check it out. Okay. Um, I'm just gonna say, and I got this get this out of the way. I'm not gay. I'm straight. I'm married. But man, George Clooney. Oh my gosh, that to me is like he's right there. To me, sometimes uh, I'm just gonna say it if I sound gay or whatever. He looks like the sexiest man alive. I mean, he is a very handsome man, especially he at his peak, especially at being a very handsome older gentleman at the time. I don't know. I think he's around 37, 39, maybe 40, 41. And I'm like, wow, that guy is stunning, and that he is just one part. He's like one of the main parts. He's like the freaking. Oh my gosh, let me just get in. Let me just jump into it. I'm sorry, I'm babbling because I'm nervous because I really, really like this movie. So I'm just gonna jump into it. I'm gonna jump into it. Let's go. I'm gonna do this is my movie review of From Dusk Till Dawn. So let's get it popping. Let's get it going. Okay, we at our convenience store. It's a Barry's World of liquor or something like that. Some kind of liquor store, and there's this cashier guy, and he's just there. He's selling liquor or whatever, and it turns out that they are. We got Seth and Richie Gecko are gonna pop out. They're gonna pop out a little bit, but this guy's gonna be talking with the sheriff, and we got so I think Gecko popping up when this cashier lets the sheriff go use the restroom. So now they're popping out, and Richie and Seth Gecko have guns, and they're bringing these two girls from the back. I think they were like one of them's like looking at magazines or something like that, and the other one with one hostage girl, and then the other one has another girl held hostage. Seth is. By the way, Seth Gecko is played by George Clooney, and Quentin Tarantino is playing Richie Gecko, the Gecko brothers. And they come up to the cashier and they come in with their hostages, two girl hostages, and they have guns to their faces, and they're telling the cashier, you know, you better get this guy out of here. I'm gonna turn this to Benny's World of Blood, taking the name from the name of that liquor store. And the guy is talking kind of like back the cashier. He's like, if I didn't let this guy use the restroom, no, because Seth Gecko says, you know, you let the sheriff use the restroom. No store does that. And then the cashier guy says, if I told him no, he's used my bathroom 1,000 times. He would know what's up. And yeah, that's when Seth goes, you better do what I tell you, or I'm gonna turn this to Benny's World of Blood. He's like, do you want this little girl to die and that little girl the hostage you have? So, and then Seth says, I want him on his way out of here. And then Richie Gecko says, um, he whispers into Seth's ear, like, were you giving the pig signals? So George, I mean, I'm sorry. So Seth Gecko's like saying from Richie, you know, from Richie, he's getting from Richie whispers ears, like, you know, were you giving this pig signals? He says you were scratching, and the cashier's like, I didn't remember scratching. If I don't remember scratching, it's because I'm scared, you know, crapless. And at the end, Richie says, "Everybody be cool. You be cool." I mean, the one-liners, man. There's so many of them in this film. So the sheriff is coming out of the restroom, and Richie and Seth are going back to their positions where they were hiding, like behind the beers and behind the magazines, whatever. And then the cashier tells the sheriff, no, the sheriff goes, how much do I owe you for that hooch peak? Because he had taken like Jack Daniels and some beer or whatever. And he goes, then the cashier says, 650. And the sheriff goes, well, oh, damn, are you booking for early retirement? And the cashier's like, like, hell yeah. And right there, Richie Richie goes behind the sheriff and blows the back of his head off. I mean, not blow his head off, but he shoots him back of the head. Sheriff goes down to the floor, and and he says, Richie. I mean, Seth comes out and says, "Hey, Richie, what the hell's your problem?" And then Richie goes, he signals a ranger, and then the catcher says, "I didn't do anything," and he's like, "You effing liar!" And then I believe Richie shoots him in the arm. Yeah, so that's why I mean Richie says that he saw the cashier signal the ranger, and then the cashier's like, I didn't do anything." And that's where Richie shoots him in the arm, and the cashier goes, the cash register guy, he falls to the floor, and says 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 um yeah, like, what's your problem? He's like, and then Richie's like, Seth, like, he did it. I saw him. You had your back towards the cooler. I could see his face, and he mouthed the words, "Help us." Uh, and then says, like, start the car. Now let me go back to the cashier. He's I think he went to a safe to get a gun or something. He's getting a gun, and then at the same time they're arguing, and then says start the car, and then Richie's like, you believe me, right? And then says like, start the car. I believe you. Let's go. And then Richie says, you should believe me because I'm right. And then the cash register guy comes up with a gun and starts shooting and shoots Richie in the hand. And then Richie and Seth go for cover. And there's a shootout between the cash register guy and Seth and Richie. There's an intense scene where yeah, when the cash register guy starts shooting at them, and Seth is like psh, 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 starts shooting like intensity with no fear, like he's crazy. I mean, he's obsessed and he's not in the way he's not afraid. And he's shooting, but they do not. They I guess they're horrible shots because they don't shoot each other. I mean, they're not that far away from each other. I don't know, probably as much as 7 feet away from each other, or I don't even know if that's possible if you can miss from that close range. And then after that, they need to reload their bullets. Cash register guy is reloading his bullets behind the cash register. Seth is behind some aisles and he's reloading. And then Richie's like, I told you, he mouthed the word, help us. And then the cash register guy goes, I never, behind the counter, reloading, he's sitting down. He goes, I never yelled out, help us. Like he was mouthing. They're still going to that when before all this started. And then Seth says, it doesn't matter anymore. You got like two effing minutes to live. And it's like one, two, and then says Richie, when I do a count, start shooting the liquor bottles from behind him, and the count of three, something like that, and then says like one, two, and at the same time, Seth is like getting some paper toilet, and I think he's putting like some kind of oil on it or something flammable. I don't know what it is. A bottle that it's kind of cool too because he kicks one of the shelves in the aisles and then the thing falls and he catches it. All cool, man. Like, oh my gosh, man! I know I'm not gonna tell you what I think about this movie yet, but I'm like, so anyways, he kicks the thing. The thing falls in his hands. He gets toilet paper. He puts something flammable. I don't know if it's some kind of grease or whatever, and then Seth says on the count of three, one, two, three, and then Richie gets up, starts shooting the bottles, and Seth throws the toilet paper that has this kerosene or whatever on it, throws it behind the counter. Richie's already shot a lot of those bottles, so there's alcohol, and it's gonna be flammable with the alcohol, and it works. That was their plan. Starts into fire behind the counter. Cash register guy, he gets, oh, by the way, I think his name is Pete something, the cashier guy, Pete. So I guess it's cashier Pete we call him. So Pete is on fire from Richie shooting all the alcohol and Seth throwing the paper toilet with something flammable, probably some kind of grease. So now he's on fire, and then Richie and Seth are looking at him, and and they're kind of looking at him, and then he pops up all in fire. Ah, he's still shooting. Oh man, that Pete must be very strong, very tough individual because even though he looks weak and skinny, he's still getting up and shooting back at him, at Richie and Seth. And good thing he misses. And then Seth and Richie shoot back at him, even though while he's on fire, shooting back. And then Pete finally goes down. He lands on some popcorn, and the popcorn's popping, and Pete is dead. And you see Richie finally get a road map, and then they walk outside, and they're arguing why. Well, Benny's World of Blood. That's the name of the place. It's it's exploding in the back, because all the fire is going on. Probably ran into more bottles or whatever and more stuff that's toxic explode the place. I mean, there's a big a little. I think you see a little mushroom cloud come out, like exploding somewhat, still on fire. Richie and Seth are arguing while they go out. It's like, that Seth saying low profiling. Don't you know what low profiling means? And then Richie's like, hey, how about you asking about my hand? It hurts like a son of a son of a bitch. Sorry, excuse my language. And then Seth says, let me tell you about low profile. It's not shooting people in the face. It's not putting fire to a building. And then Richie says, bitch, bitch, bitch. And then the credits start off really cool, man. Like the words come up really fast like this. I've never seen in a movie where they do it. It's probably happened in another movie, but I have not seen a movie like that. And it pops out as Salma Hayek and George Clooney as Seth and Richie. I mean, it's super cool. And then it shows them in their car taking off. My friend said it was a Barracuda car, but I don't know what's a Barracuda car. It looks something like a Mustang to me. I ain't good at name cars. And they're taking off in their car down the highway, and they're surrounded by desert. You see Richie. I don't know if this is possible. He sees a hole through his hand where they have shot him. I mean, really rebellious stuff, man. And he tapes it with some kind of gray tape, masking tape. I don't know what tape that. I don't even think it would, like, if I had that or something like anything like a boo boo. My mom will not let me use that tape. She says it's toxic, whatever. So what he's probably using is probably not good. And then Richie has his foot out the window. That was pretty funny. I've seen people imitate that out the window, and then he's Richie gives him a bottle of beer, drinking the beer. Seth is drinking while driving. Whoa, it's a no. And he's taking popping pills at the same time. So these two are really badasses. So they're driving on the highway and stuff, and and then it shows in the back of the car like they're gonna view somehow where they have a lady hostage. Yeah, they have a lady hostage, and then later on they're gonna show a reporter on TV saying that Richie and Seth Gecko have robbed the bank, and they have killed some police officers, some deputies, and then took a bank teller hostage, stuff like that. So they have killed several cops, deputies, what have you, police officers, whatever. And I think they ran over some civilians. They said they don't show it, but they say it. And that's when they interview John Saxon. Oh my gosh, another handsome man. He came in Return of the Dragon with Bruce Lee, and I don't want to get into it, but he came out on Friday 13 too, and they're interviewing him, and he's playing some kind of law enforcement guy, maybe the FBI, and they said they have created a dragnet to capture Richie and Seth Gecko, the Gecko brothers. And if y'all don't know what a dragnet is they're gonna combine police forces like sheriffs and deputies, rangers, and I was gonna say, and FBI. And then the reporter asks, "Is it a safe assumption that the all these law enforcements are gonna take this seriously?" And then John Saxon says, "Yeah, it's a pretty safe assumption." Now, Richie and Seth have arrived at somehow in the desert. They have a whole motel kind of deal. One of the best parts too. Seth goes to go get the room. He's ringing the bell, so someone could come out in the front office so he could rent a room. And an old man comes out, and Seth, when he's ringing the bell, he's ringing the bell, ding, 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 and he gets it and slams it. And then a really old man comes out, like the eyes all messed up and everything. Old man goes, what the hell you want? And then Seth Gecko says, what do you think I want, you mean old bastard? I want an effing room. And then the old man's all scared, like, okay, all right. And then you see the Seth and Richie in the car. And then they're playing this country song on, you peed on the carpet, you stole my truck, or something like that. And they're like, Seth tells Richie, let's do this fast. They take the secretary out and they go to the room that Seth has rented. And then they start giving her like ultimatums. They put her, once they get in the room, they put her in the sofa. And he's like, hey, my name's Seth, and that's Richie. And then he's like, I want to have some questions for you. Do you want to live or die? And she's like, she wants to live. Um, he's like, he's like saying like, I don't know, like three things, and he says first of all, and second of all, what was he gonna say? Um, you say what we say when we say to do it, kind of deals. He's like, yes. And then I like this part, and he puts a gun to her head, and he goes, you know, and third of all, don't you ever effing run on us. And he has his gun. He shows his gun. And he goes, I have six little friends in here in the gun, and they can all run faster than you can. Oh my gosh. I'm like, you hardly ever see me clap in movies, ladies and gentlemen, but I will here. I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many really good one-liners in this film. Um, then once Seth is done talking to him, oh yeah, and then um, Seth is gonna be talking about to Rich in front of her, like we're gonna get. I'm gonna have to see if I can arrange some rendezvous point with Carlos. And then Seth says, can you do any better than, I don't remember what percentage it was. Uh, like more than, I think, was it like 30%? Uh, and then Seth says, this is, it's a standard deal. They're not gonna change it. And Richie's saying like, no, like, and then yeah, Richie's saying no, and then Seth says no. This is a standard deal, and you're not bartering with some firecracker salesman at Tijuana. And then Richie says, all I'm saying, is, and then Seth cuts him off and says, this this conversation over, okay, and then Richie's like, okay, fine. What they're talking about is that Seth is trying to get across the border, and from the United States to Mexico, and they're gonna try to meet up with Carlos. So Carlos is gonna take him to some place of sanctuary called El Rey, and that's all we know. So yeah, Seth's trying to contact this guy, Carlos from El Rey, so he could get him sanctuary in El Rey. Um, Seth is gonna Seth is gonna go take off, and he's gonna go take a look at the border and see what's up. He's gonna leave Richie with his secretary, this bank teller. Bank teller is on the couch. Richie has gone into the bedroom and he's laying down watching TV. And he says, "You want to come lay down with me?" And so the bank teller goes over there, and Richie says, "Take off your shoes," and she goes to sit down with Richie. Um, and then after that, they're gonna show a scene, another scene with some some new characters. You're gonna have Jacob Fuller, Kate Fuller, and Scott Fuller, and they're gonna be talking. And what's gonna end up happening? I'm gonna explain these characters. Um, Jacob Fuller is a pastor, and his wife has recently died. Um, Kate is his daughter. She's white, and I have to explain to give you a visual. And then Scott Fuller is Jacob's son, and he's Chinese. They're at a restaurant, and they are talking about. Well, Scott has to go to the restroom, so he goes, and then this kind of explains what's going on. Kate is talking about Baptist that they called before they left. She answered. They called her and she answered before they left. I guess so at their house, and says they're not gonna permanently replace Jacob. Remember, he's a pastor, and he she tells Jacob this, and Jacob's like and he's like, no, I'll call them tomorrow and tell them I'm not interested. Don't bother waiting up for me. And then Kate's like, Paul, like, or don't you believe in God anymore? And well, he's like, not enough to be a pastor. And then Kate asks Jacob, what would Mama say? And then and then Jacob says, Mama's got nothing to say. She's dead. So I was like, wow. We're gonna go back to the room where Seth has now entered the motel room. He's come back, and Richie's waiting for him on the table, on the front table in the living room, and he has a gun towards Seth, and then Richie has said, "Hey, he's like, I was worried about you, sick man. What happened? What'd you see?" He's like, "Cops, border." And Seth has brought a bag of burgers and stuff. So he's probably went to that I don't know, some Hawaiian burger place, I think. Um, but he has a bag of burgers, and he gives Richie a burger, and and Seth asks Richie, "What does the TV say about us?" And he's like, they're gonna apprehend us within 24 hours. Um, and then so he gives a burger to Richie. Seth gives a burger to Richie, and then he has a piece for the woman, and then Seth asks Richie, "Where's the hostage? The effing hostage, the effing hostage?" And then Richie all cool goes, "She's in there." And then says like, "What do you mean she's effing in there?" And he's pointing to the bedroom. Seth goes in there and he sees that the bank teller, lady, she's now dead and her blouse is open. And Seth is looking at her dead body on the bed, raped body. And Richie's like behind him, swinging his body a little bit. And I like this part, like really cool. It says, "Richie, what is the matter with you?" And Richie says, "There's nothing matter with me, brother." And then Richie starts lying and saying she tried to get away, I had to do what I had to do. And then Seth doesn't believe him and says, no, she wouldn't have said shit of Rice Krispies or something like that. And then and then Richie says, wrong, wrong, wrong. When you left, she became a completely different person. And then Seth says, is it me? Is this who you think I am? I am a professional effing thief, and I don't kill people I don't have to, and I don't rape women. And then Seth gets Richie by the face and says, "This is now it's done. Do you understand this? Say yes." He gets him against the wall too. He goes, "Yes." Say yes, Seth. I effing understand. It's like, say it. Say yes. Yes, Seth. I effing understand. He has Richie by the face, and then Richie finally says, "Okay, yes, 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 bro. I effing understand." And Seth hugs him finally and says, none of this is gonna matter. We're gonna go to Mexico and there's gonna be rice and beans and none of this shit's gonna matter. Excuse my language, but I have to say this. Oh, I'm sorry. I hardly ever say profanity, but I have to because I love this movie so much. And and then it ends like that. So you are now knowing that Richie has, he's a criminal and he has psychological problems and he is a rapist. So you know this. After this, Jacob, it's shown that he has a Jacob, Scott, and Kate. They have what's called a what is it called a Winnebago. I don't know. It's just called a Winnebago right now till I find a proper term for it. You know those vehicles that are for have a big room in the back and so we call it a Winnebago. um, it has a it's real big. It has like the living room part and then it has a back room in the back. And you see Jacob's driving and he's saying that he needs to sleep in a real bed. He's like the the beds on the camper are good, but it's not like a real bed. And then Kate is complaining that we need to go to a this motel's a flop house, and she was saying this while Jacob went to go get a room, rent out a room. And Kate saying it's a flop house, and some places have a gym, swimming pool, or whatever. So Jacob doesn't care. He already got the room, and they're gonna go there. When they're coming in with a Winnebago camper, whatever you want to call it, they almost run into Seth. Seth's drinking a bottle of liquor, beer, and then he looks at his beer and he in front of the Winnebago, and then he walks off. Then later on, we're gonna see Scott and Jacob. They are in they're in the rented room, and then Richie goes in and knocks on the door, and then he wakes up Jacob. Scott can't hear because he has headphones and he's playing a guitar. Looks like he's practicing. And then Jacob's like, "Man, what help you are?" He tells Scott, and Scott can't hear him because he still has his headphones. So Jacob goes to the door and he answers as Richie. Richie says, "Hey, I got a lady friend and me. We have a we're we need a nice. We don't have a nice bucket. Do you have a nice bucket? I will bring it right back." And then Jacob's like, "Sure." And he goes to get the ice bucket. He turns around and then Seth comes in and punches him in the face. And then Jacob says after the punch, like, "What is this?" And then says it's called a punch. And then Richie goes towards the Scott, and he tells Scott to open his mouth. And then Richie gets a gun. And he's like, "Open your mouth. Why? Why?" He puts his fun. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. He puts his gun in in Scott's mouth, and he moves him to with Jacob. Jacob's now sitting on the bed. Now Richie directs Scott with his gun in his mouth to the bed beside Jacob, and then Seth goes, "What are you? A bunch of a couple of f word gay people in a way. You know what I mean? Say he's gay." And Jacob goes, "It's my son." And and then Seth goes, "He looks Japanese," and then Jacob goes, "No, he looks Chinese." And then Seth's like, "Oh, excuse me, all the hell." uh, Jacob's asking questions like, "What's all this?" And then Seth's like, "We're in a little hot water here, and we're gonna need you." And then Kate Kate pops in her bikini and towel coming in from the swimming pool, and the Gecko brothers are both startled. And then I think Richie, they point their guns at one of them points a gun at Kate, and the other one points a gun at Scott and Jacob. Make sure they don't make a move. And then Kate goes, "What's all this?" And then Richie goes, "We're having a bikini contest, and you just won." And then Seth calls her Gidget. "Do you have any clothes?" Or she's like, "Yes." Go get dressed. You have like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Hurry, hey, hurry! We shoot your father in the face. And Richie's already like looking, staring her down, and looking at her like all perverted and stuff. And Seth is still talking to Jacob and saying, I need all of you." And then Jacob says, "Just take me, leave them alone." And Seth's like, "I'm sorry, pops, I need everybody." And Jacob even walks to the door like, "I'm not going with you," and that is that. And then he puts the gun to Scott's face and he goes, "This is effing this, you know, this is effing that. Like, if you don't do it, what we tell you." And then Scott's like, "Dad," with Seth's gun on his face. And then and then Seth asks Jacob, do you want him to die? Yes or no? Or do you gonna do it?" He's like, "Get your kids into that mobile home. That's what it's called. Not what a big one. Get your kids into that mobile home. Are you gonna get them in there?" He's like, "Yes." And then I like this part, and Seth goes, hey guys," referring to Scott and Kate. "Hey guys, your dad just saved your life." So it's obvious that Richie and Seth are gonna use them to try to get them across the border and use the mobile home. So they put them all in the mobile home, and I like this part too when they're about to leave the room, and Seth goes, Ramblers, let's get rambling." They get into the mobile home, and they're driving down the highway, and Seth is talking to Jacob, and he says he's talking to him. He goes, he's going through Jacob's wallet. He goes, "Who's this?" I was like, "That's my wife." And he's talking about the past. He goes, "You're a real pasture." And Seth asks Jacob. Jacob's driving, and Seth is in front with him. And then Richie and the kids are in the back. And then Seth ask Jacob, Are you really a pastor? Are you some kind of fake kind of pastor? Are you real McCoy? And he's like, yeah, I'm the real McCoy. And then Seth says that, oh, I had a friend that was ordained a mystery. He did that somehow to f the IRS. And he's like, "Is this your wife?" And then a picture of a wife, and Jacob's like, "Yes." And where is she? And then he's like, she's in heaven. What happened? He's like, car accident. And it says like, did some effing drunk killer? Like, no. And then says like, what happened? And then Jacob says it was raining. She had to stop the car. You know, stop the car abruptly or fast. The brakes on the car weren't all that great. She crashed. She died. That says like, how was it instant death? And then Jacob's like, no, it was like 20 minutes before she passed on. And says, ask him, why'd you quit being a pastor? And then Jacob's like, this is the last time I'm gonna be up close and personal. And then says like, let's just keep it light, pops. And then and I like this. Uh, Seth tells him, you know what? Okay, let's get through the getting to know you BS. And says Seth tells Jacob. He tells him this. Um, this is my favorite part. Seth tells Jacob, um, I don't give a shit which it is. You could either your family can live for you could they could die you could die right now today or you can live forever. I don't care which. I don't give a shit which it is. If you try to get us across the border without trying anything funny, I'm gonna let you all. In the morning, I'll let you all live and let you go. But he goes, if you if you don't if you try something funny, you just see the way my brother was looking at your daughter. See, he was looking at her, and he's like, and then Jacob's like, yes, and then Jacob says, if you harm any of my family, I'm gonna kill him. And then Seth says, if you cross us, I'm gonna kill all of you. um, there's a part where Richie is in back there with the kids. He's holding them at a gunpoint. And then screams back to Richie back there because of course Seth's up front. He screams back to Richie. They're in the back room. They're not even in the middle living area of the mobile home. They're in the way in the back. Richie's like, put on your. Seth screams out, "Hey Richie, uh, put on your bib." And then Richie with his gun, he has to put a bib on, and they're looking at him funny, the kids, and he's like, Kata and Scott are looking at him funny. They're like, they're looking at him weird because he put on a bib, and then, excuse me, Richie says, "I grind my teeth," so that's what the bib is for. And then Richie asked Kate, "Did you mean what you said back there?" Kate's like, "What did I say?" Oh yeah, back in the room. Uh, said Richie would back in the room in the motel. He was imagining that Kate was asking him, "Can you eat my something?" I don't want to say what it is, but it's something like let's just say that Richie is imagining Kate coming on to her, and so now we're back at the mobile home, and Richie's thinking about that, and he's like, "Did you mean what you said back there?" And Kate's like, "What did I say?" And then Richie says, "You asked me if I would eat your." He's referring to back there where he imagined that she was coming on to him. He's imagining it because he's psychotic. He's a psychotic rapist. And then good thing Seth intervenes and says, "Richie, you have nothing. You have no business talking to them." So he's like, "Okay, whatever." And then and then Richie tells Kate, "I will talk later." So they're still driving down the highway. Now they get to the border of the checkpoint. There's border when they get to the so they till they get to the border where all the border patrol agents are. They have there's a lot of dogs expecting a lot of cars. They probably have more border patrol agents because now they know they I'm pretty sure they know that the Gecko brothers are trying to apprehend them and maybe they're trying to get across the border. Um, Seth, when they get in line to try to cross the border behind all the other vehicles in the mobile home, what they're gonna do is uh, Seth talks to Jacob and says and puts he puts Scott in front with Jacob. Jacob's in the driving and Scott is on the passenger seat. And then Seth asks Jacob, "What are you gonna say to try to get him across the border?" He's like, "I don't have the slightest idea." And he goes, "Remember, me and Richie, we have a gun to Kate's head. So what's gonna happen is Richie and Seth, they're gonna take Kate into the restroom in the mobile home, and they're gonna hide in there." Border Patrol agent. Oh yeah, and then it's interesting enough. Jacob talks to Scott, and Scott's like, "Dad, what are we gonna do?" And then Jacob says, "I'm gonna try to get us across the border." And then Scott's like, "I seen those reality cop movies. If you have an opportunity, you go for it." And Jacob's like, "Didn't you forget about your sister?" It's like, "Dad, you know." And Jacob tells Scott, "I call the plays. We're gonna do what I do." Jacob's like, and then Scott's like, "No, you need to go for it." And oh yeah, Scott goes, "If you don't tell the cops, I will." And he lunges to go like try to get out, and then Jacob gets him by the arm. No, he's like, "You need to go by what I say. Uh, I make the plays. I call them." And then Scott's like, "He's making the plays." And then Scott's like, "You need to trust my plays. Just trust me." Then a border patrol comes by, and the border patrol agent is played by Cheech Marin, and he uses like a a white accent because I think his first language is English, but he puts extra hick language in, and he asks Jacob. He knocks on the door on the window, and then Jacob rolls it down, and then he the border patrol agent played by Cheech Marin when he goes, "What's your business in Mexico?" And then Jacob says, "I'm gonna take my son to see his first bullfight." It's just you, and then the border patrol agent says, "It's just you two." And he goes, "Yes." At the same time, they're gonna show a scene where they're in the restroom. Kate, Richie, and Seth, and then Richie does not like the plan, and he tells Seth, and Richie, you have Seth. He has a gun. Then Kate's in front of him, and he has a gun to Kate's head. And then we got Richie, that's behind Seth, in the restroom, in the shower. And then Richie saying, "I don't like this idea." And then says like, duly noted. Now shut up." and uh, and then Richie asks something like, "I don't think we're gonna make it." Something like, "Do you think I'm gonna make it? We're gonna make it across the border?" And then, and then says, "As long as you don't act like an effing nut, we will." And then Richie starts getting mad. What? What did you say? And he's like, "You think I'm stupid? And where I come from, You call me an effing nut. You just call me an effing nut. Where I come from, that's insulting, something like that. And then Richie's like, and then Seth says, I'm gonna do something, whatever. And then Richie says, what? And Richie's still getting mad, and then Seth just gets his. Richie's still blabbing off, and then what happens is Seth has his hand with his gun and just go whack. He hits Richie in the back of I'm sorry, in the front of his face and knocks him out. And then Kate's like, thanks. And then says like, opens his eyebrows like, hey man, that was. And then when this happens, they're shaking the. One of them gets pushed. Oh, it's when Richie had pushed Seth that we go back to before he gets knocked out. We go back to Jacob and the Border Patrol agent and Scott, and the Border Patrol agent said, "What was that?" I mean, he heard something and he saw the thing probably move. And then Jacob goes, "What was what?" And the Border Patrol agent says, "No, oh no." And then Jacob says, "No, that was my daughter." And then the Border Patrol agent says, "I thought you said it was just you and your son." And then that's when they Seth knocks out Richie because Richie's blabbing off. And then the Border Patrol agent says, "You know what? Because of that happened, they heard something and the mobile home moved." He goes, we're open up. We're coming aboard." And then so the Border Patrol agent, Cheech Marin, gets in there and he comes in with other Border Patrol agents with dogs, whatever. They go knock on the restroom and they say, they knock on the door. It's not even a real door. It's like a sliding like door, whatever. Not sliding door. It's like, I don't know, like a paper, more of a paper door. He knocks. He goes, "It's Border Patrol." And then you hear Kate's voice saying, "It's open." And you see Kate in the on the toilet with her panties down. And then she tells Border Patrol agent, she goes, "Do you mind? Shut the effing door, please." And then he says, "Excuse me, ma'am," and he closes the door. And then Kate looks up, and it's a Seth with Richie's body behind Seth in the shower, holding him up, and Seth gives that look, like his eyebrows, like, "Oh, we have a good chance to get out now." And then you see Seth coming out of that mobile restroom kind of deal, and he looks outside the back and he sees the border, that they have left the border now. And then he's like, "All right," he's all celebrating stuff. And then he gets Scott's face, that he's Scott sitting down. And Seth gets Scott's face. He goes, "We're in effing Mexico, you piece of piece of crap." He throws it like that in excitement. And Seth is all happy. And he says, "Scott, help me with Richie. They're gonna put him in the back bed." And Jacob's driving. He's like, "Where are we gonna go?" And then Seth says, "We're gonna go to this street, whatever, and you're gonna take a ride." And and then Jacob's like, "Where again?" And then he goes, "Yeah." And when you get to the Gallo, when you get to the street, the guy, you turn this big. He goes, "You big bastard left." And then we're gonna head to a place called the Titty Twister. And then Jacob says, and then he goes, "Over there you stop, because that's where we're going." They're still driving down the road in Mexico on the highway at night. Um, Seth notices Richie's woken up. Seth's like, and then Richie's like, "What the f happened?" And then Seth came up with his lie. He says, "You said you felt a lot of pain in your hand, and then you fell down like a sack of potatoes." No, that was not to happen. Remember, he hit him with a gun. in the back of the face. And then Richie's like, yeah. I'm sorry, Richie's like, yeah. And it says like, guess what? We are in effing Mexico. We're officially Mexicans, buddy. and and then Richie's like, far out. He's like, and then Richie's like, where the hell are my glasses? And Seth goes, he shows them to Richie. They're broke when you drop them. And then Richie gets all mad. Hey, that was my only effing pair. And it says like, like don't worry, we'll get you some new ones. And then Richie's still complaining. It's not like some home law or whatever is gonna have my prescription. And then Richie says, I was in a very good mood. And he puts on the glasses on Richie. I was in a very good mood, so stop. While he's putting on the glasses on Richie goes, stop. Stop giving me all this bullshit. And Richie's still mad, taking off his glasses. Like, what the hell? They're broken already, so. So Richie is probably going to have to go through this without glasses, I'll see. And then Jacob yells from the front and says, we're here. They get to the titty twister. It's a big place. It has a lady, electrical thing that has a form of lady in her boobs called titty twister on top. And there's like fire in some places going up. So they get there in the mobile home, and then Seth gives them all a speech. He says, I know you've been a hard pecker kind of deal. But if we get out of this, we're all gonna get something out of it. We're all gonna, excuse me, get all this alive. Oh, by the way, all this time they did have a case of money and all this stuff. And he goes, that we're all cool. I mean, that's kind of like saying that we're all cool. I mean, we're gonna get out of the, everybody's gonna get out of this alive. I'm gonna let you all go in the morning, and that they're gonna wait for Carlos there. So this is the rendezvous point, the titty twister. And he goes, hard drinkers, I'm buying. He calls them all hard drinkers. Um, so they get down, and they get down, and there's a lot there's some big truck rigs outside parked. There's people on motorcycles going around in the dirt outside. Then um you got Cheech Marin playing a vampire. Well, actually, he's not a vampire. He just looks regular, and he's saying, "Oh, he's tugging up the pee like cat." I'll just say it. Sorry, pussy. He's saying pussy lovers. And he's just saying that word constantly over and over. He gets all different kind of pee, pussy. I'm sorry. I'm not explaining without getting in trouble with YouTube. Um, but he's just saying basically they have white, they have brown, all this kind of different kind of women in a bad way using the p word, the cat word, if you know what I mean. Which I've already said. I'm sorry. And he has a microphone and he's yelling to everybody, all the bikers and truckers outside. And then I believe his name is Chet something. But they don't. I don't think they ever said his name in this film. But then the group goes to him, Richie and the Gecko Brothers and company, and Seth goes up to this guy Chet, talking to people with a microphone, and then Chet tells him, "Hey, not so fast." He gets Seth by the arm, I think, like this, and he goes, "Not so fast." And then Seth says, "Step aside, a hole." When he hits him in the nose, and then he falls down, and then he's like in a all fours position like a dog, and then Richie starts kicking it. You liking this? Huh? Huh? Kicking him on the floor in his ribs. And he's like, "Oh, you liking this? Hope so." And then Chet falls. He falls on the to the floor, all hurt. And one of my favorite parts, Seth goes to the front door and he goes, and there you see the establishment. There's girls dancing on the walls on the top. There's a lot of bikers, and there's a lot of bikers and truckers sitting on tables. There's girls dancing on tables, half naked, and there's girl waitresses, and it's like a strip club kind of bar deal. And then when he sees this, when Seth walks in the door and sees this, he goes, "No, this is my kind of place." And they show all the girls dancing. They have really cool rock and roll Spanish music going on. And then the guy starts singing "Fumando marijuana," and and they start dancing more. And "Fumando marijuana" means smoking marijuana. And it's playing hardcore stuff. The freaking singer is a band. The singer's freaking singing and drinking. I mean, it's a hardcore place. Seth and company, all they all come in. Kate, Scott, all of them, Jacob, they all come in, and there's fights happening right in front of Seth. The bikers and the motorcycle guys are fighting. There's fights in the bar. I don't know, oh my gosh, I love a lot of lines. Seth goes to the bartender, which the bartender is played by Danny Trejo, and then Seth goes, I want some alcohol, I want some vodka or tequila, I don't know what, and then the bartender pours a drink in one of the shot glasses, and instead of giving it to Seth, because Seth's ordering the alcohol, the bartender drinks it, and he goes, "You know what? You're not welcome." And then says like, "You think I'm not good enough to drink here?" And Danny and then the bartender says, "This is a private bar. This bar is for bikers and truckers only. You get out." And then there's a fat bouncer that comes behind him and says, "Ande pendejo." And I'm from Mexican descent. I don't know why he says "ande." It's actually uh, it's que la onda pendejo. You're supposed to say it like that. Unless they took it off. I don't know. He didn't say it all the whole word. Anyways, he goes "ande pendejo." That's supposed to be que la onda pendejo. But he puts his arm on Seth's back, and then Seth like has his head down. Says, "Take your hand off me." And then the bouncer goes, or the fat bouncer goes, "Or I'm gonna count to three." And then it says like, "No, I'm gonna count to three." And then that bouncer goes one, and then Seth goes two. And he turns around and looks at the bouncer. And then Jacob tries to break it up, and he tells the bartender, "No, this could be all solved. You want a truck driver? If you look outside your window there, which I don't see any windows that really look outside, but he says, you look your window. I have a recreational vehicle, mobile home. Oh, he didn't say mobile home. He said recreational vehicle. You need a Class D driver's license to drive that. You want a truck driver? I am a truck driver, and these are my friends." And then real cool, the bartender goes, "Welcome to the Titty Twister. How can I take your order?" And then Seth goes, they don't fight, and Seth says, um, he goes, he asked the bartender, "Do you have any food here?" And the bartender goes, "Best in Mexico." And then Seth goes, I kind of doubt that because the place looks kind of ghetto. It looks cool in a way, but it's ghetto, like cheap. And he goes, we're gonna be over there at that table. you send a waitress with five glasses or something like that. They go to a table and it's funny because I believe Seth kicks one of a biker or a trucker out of a chair. The guy goes crawling away. There's a girl that was dancing on it. He gets her hand and brings her down. They all sit at the table, and Seth is already like drinking heavily. He's doing a lot of shot glasses. So Jacob's like, what's your problem? And then Seth says, I'm still stewing over that ape putting his hand on me. And Jacob's like, what are you gonna do next? And he's like, well, Seth's like, I'm gonna take this effing bottle. I'm gonna finish it, and after I'm done drinking it, I'm gonna I'm gonna hit it over his melon head. And Jacob's like, I thought you said it'd be cool. And Seth's like, I said, I want you to do as I was it do as I do as I don't, something like that. Do as I do as I not say, or I don't know, something like that. And then Jacob tells Seth, "Are you an effing loser? You don't even know what you want." And then Seth's like, "Come again." He's like, and then Jacob's like, "Are you such a loser? You don't even know what you want." And then Jacob says, "And all in the state of Texas, all the law enforcement, even the FBI were after you, and they couldn't catch you. No, they couldn't." He's like, "No, they couldn't." And then Seth says, "Jacob, why don't you have a drink with me?" Because Jacob had refused to have a drink with him. I forgot to say, I'm sorry. And then, but says now, says, "Jacob, I want you to have a drink with me." And they toast, they're like, to your family, and they're like, to yours, and stuff like that. And it's funny when I didn't say it, but Jacob had refused to drink earlier, and says like, you don't drink. He's like, yeah, I do. I'm just not drinking with you. But now they're like, yeah, we'll drink each other's family, so it's all good. And then the bartender, the bartender goes up to, there's a stage there, and he goes, we got a mystic of the Macau, something like that. And then some man yells at the bartender saying, bite this. And then the bartender says, lonely dog. Kneels at the feet of Santanico Pandemonium. And then they have these two girls that come out with snakes. And then you're going to have this Santa Pandemonium. She's dressed kind of like a queen. She's half naked, but she has like a robe and a snake. There's snake dance, whatever. And it's this Pandanio Santanico Pandemonium. It's hard to say. Um, that's because I'm from Mexican descent. this goes where they're at. Santanico Pandemonium is played by Salma Hayek. Um, she comes out. She starts doing a sexy dance, and she starts walking on the tables. And then they're playing this really sexy provocative, I can't say provocative music to her dance. But she walks on the tables, and she actually goes to Richie, and she gets on one leg, and then she has the other leg up, and then she ends up putting her foot in Richie's mouth and pouring bottle of alcohol, probably tequila, down her leg into Richie's mouth and into her toe. Provocative stuff. I can't say the freaking word. Sorry. And she also got near. She got near Richie. She poured tequila or some kind of alcohol in her mouth, and then she pours it in Richie's mouth. Richie opens her mouth, and she finishes up the dance on top of the table. And then they all start clapping, everybody, and then Seth's like, "That's a effing show," and they're all happy and stuff after that provocative dance she did with Richie. But now Seth sees that Chet, the guy that was outside with the microphone, come in with a big bouncer and probably another guy, and he's like Chet's like those two guys over there, and then it says, hey Richie, get back our clock. Excuse me. And Richie's like how many, and then says it's like two or three, and then Chet goes behind the guy that knocked outside. He goes behind Richie and said, "This gay guy right here." He says the F word, but I'm not trying to be respectful. This gay guy right here broke my finger and my nose, pointing to Seth, and he goes, "And this effing gay guy, he kicked me all down." And I believe Richie takes out his gun and he puts it in somebody's stomach, and but somebody stabs Richie in the hand, in the same hand he had got shot by the cashier earlier in the beginning of the movie at the Benny's World of Blood liquor store. So they stab Richie's hand through the table because Richie's hand's right there. And there's a fight that ensues. They shoot some of the. They start. What happens is Satanico Pandemonium. She starts seeing the blood that's off Richie's hand, and then somebody stabs somebody of one of the one of the other like like one of the bouncers or something, and they slammed it, and there was a knife or something, and they slammed it on the that had stabbed one of the bouncers, and then they stabbed it. I mean, they put it in the stabbed it in the table or put it in the table, and then Jacob noticed that there's like green blood coming out, and then a fight breaks out, is breaking out, and Seth and Richie have everybody at gunpoint. Everybody's sitting down mostly, and it looks like Richie and Seth are trying to hold up the place, and then Seth says, "How's your hand?" And he's like, like, like F, Richie's hand has seen better days, and it's all messed up with tape. I mean, he already got shot through the hand. Now he got stabbed in the hand by one of the bouncers. But at Satanico Pandemonio, that girl is doing the dance. She's seen Richie, all the blood from his hand, and then she starts getting really excited and she's getting hypnotized, and then she vamps out. She vamps out to a vampire. Her hair actually disappeared. I noticed that, and her ears get bigger, and now she has fangs. And she vamps out. She jumps on Richie's back and she starts biting Richie. He's like, ah. And then she's biting Richie's neck on his back. And Seth is reloading his gun. Finally reloads and he shoots. And he manages to shoot Santanico Pandemonio in the head. She falls down. Richie goes down. And Seth goes to Richie and sees that he's dead. Then everybody, the bouncers that were hit, they get up, and all the waitresses, they all turn into vampires, and now there's a full out war in the freaking bar. It's gonna be the vampire waitresses, and all the bouncer vampires, and then the bartender, played by Danny Trejo. He's in. They're all gonna vamp out, and they're gonna be attacking the the motorcycle uh, the motorcycle patrons in there and the trucker patrons in there or customers. One of the first scenes you're gonna see a guy called you're gonna see him later is gonna be they're gonna his name is Sex Machine. He's gonna be one of the best parts ever. He's gonna be sitting on the chair and a vampire goes to try to bite him, and he's like, "What the f?" And then he has one of those penis guns, and it's strapped on his penis, and it pops out and it shoots the vampire. Awesome part. You're gonna have a black guy, not to be racist, but called Frost. He's a trucker. You're gonna see at one scene he's gonna single handedly turn over a table and then drop four vampires on the wooden table to kill them. You're gonna see a bartender, and he. I know I see him kill one biker or biker, one trucker or a biker. I don't know which one it was, and I think he tears one arm off or something. Then he's in a fight with Sex Machine. Sex Machine takes out a whip. He fights with the bartender, and he he stabs him with a pool stick. He kills the bartender, and you got Chet, the guy with the microphone in the beginning, or not the beginning, but the beginning when they came into the place. He's killing people, and then Kate's gonna kill him because she's gonna go after Kate at the. Oh, Jacob had put his kids behind the bar. Kate kills him by putting a crucifix in his mouth. He dies. So there's a whole war going on. There's a scene where there's a she looks kind of overweight vampire girl. She's behind some screen. She has somebody's head. I mean, there's a lot of really cool, awesome scenes. Sex Machine is killing vampires too. When all the fighting comes to an end, oh, there's that cool scene where the bouncer vampire, the fat one, is at "Onde pendejo." Pendejo means stupid, by the way, in Spanish to English. They kill him where that he's one of the last ones right there in that scene, and he comes walking towards Frost, I believe, and there's some truckers that or and bikers. I think mostly truckers. I think he killed two of them. They come after him. He twists their head, and those guys would have survived if it wasn't for that fat bouncer that killed them. And he comes towards Frost. And he runs towards Frost, and then Frost just takes out his hand and tears out his heart. I'm like, I don't know if that's believable or not. And then, so the vampire overweight guy he's without a heart. And then Sex Machine sees Frost and he gets a pencil and he stabs it. And the heart, since it wouldn't, is gonna kill it, and then he dies. And oh yeah, and Seth takes out Satanico Pandemonio. There's a fight going on. That's a memorable fight. She's like, she ends up on top of Seth. She hits him, I believe, and Seth goes flying. And she gets on top of Seth. She puts her foot on Seth's chest while Seth is on the floor. She goes, "Welcome to slavery," and she goes, "Your name is." At one point, she turns back to a human, to I don't know, to mock him, and she goes and she tells Seth, I'm gonna name you like a dog. My dog. I'm gonna name you my dog like a dog named Spotty will be my dog. And he's like, "No thanks. I've already have a wife." Oh yeah, when she goes, "Welcome to slavery." That's he goes, "Oh, sorry, I already have a wife." She's still on the floor. He shoots up. He shoots some kind of a chandelier. I remember chandelier because I was gonna remember it. It falls down and falls down and it kills her. I don't know. It kills her because the only thing is made out of wood. Um, but it kills her. And so they're almost done fighting. And then it's gonna be 4 and 4. It's a pretty cool scene. They have I believe it's gonna be Frost, Seth, Sex Machine, and Jacob. They're gonna go 4 and 4 with four of their female vampire waitresses. What happens there is they're gonna fight. I think Seth helps Jacob with hers. I think with his vampire, it's 4-on-4 like this, a rumble kind of deal. I think Seth shoots Jacob's vampire on the knees with a gun. She goes down. They put a rope around her, or something like that. They all fight. Seth headbutts his vampire girl and then stabs her. They all win. Um, they beat the four, Seth, Jacob, Frost, Sex Machine. They all defeat the four vampires without incident. And then now Richie has been bitten. He comes back and he's already vamped out. Um, Sex Machine is about to kill him, but Seth's not ready for that. And he tells Sex Machine, I'm gonna kill you if you kill my brother or something like that. And then Sex Machine's like, it's not he's not your brother anymore. And Seth's like, I don't care. And then Seth finally he thinks about it and goes, he tells him hold him down. Frost and Sex Machine get Richie by the hands, and then Seth gets us I think a like a pull stick or something or a wooden thing. And he goes, Richie, I'm gonna give you the piece I can never give you in life. He gets a pull stick, puts it to Richie's heart, and then gets his gun and starts hammering it into Richie's heart, and then kills Richie. And then Sex Machine and and Frost they still have Richie's arms because he died, and they still have the arms and they throw them on the ground. They kick it. One of them kicks the arms. Now they're realizing that they're coming back to life, because if you've been bitten, you're gonna come back. You're gonna come back as a vampire, and they start staking everybody. And then Kate goes to Sex Machine, and they're like, Kate's like, my name's Kate, and then Sex Machine goes, I'm Sex Machine. Nice to meet you. And they're stabbing the truckers and bikers. They could probably, they've been bitten. They could come back as vampires. And Kate is struggling. She and one of the vampire she's trying to stake is coming alive. She stakes it, and Sex Machine is like on a vampire, and he's looking at Kate, and then he fails to stake the vampire. It's like he's looking at what Kate's doing. Vampire comes up, bites Sex Machine on the forearm. Now he's in danger of becoming a vampire, and he stakes that vampire, and then he puts on his jacket to hide it. And then after that, they're gonna talk about what to do, and they're talking about how to kill vampires. I don't know why they've already killed a lot of vampires. They should probably know something. But I think they're talking about strategy. Seth is drinking heavily. He's putting he has like a bottle of tequila again. He's putting in to his vodka glass, and he's taking shots. And then Jacob goes, "We need you thinking clearly, not drunk." And Kate also asks Seth, "Seth, are you okay?" And then Seth says, "Yes, peachy, Kate. The world is my oyster." But kind of the fact that I just stabbed my brother or just killed my brother. And they're like, they do talk strategy about how they're gonna get out of there, and they said, and at one point they're like, I thought I just heard birds, and then Seth goes, no, they're vampires. And then you see outside the titty twister, there's a bunch of bats going everywhere, and they're figuring, hey, those those vampire bats are probably real vampires. There's holes in the door, and they're putting like body limbs to put in the holes so the vampires will come in. And Frost is the one that says, he says, I thought it was birds, and it says like, yeah, they're vampires. So they're trying to prevent the vampire bats from getting in because they're probably like real vampires. They talk strategy, like how to destroy a vampire. You put two sticks together, and then one of them says, "Oh, Peter Cushing does this all the time," or something like that. Then Frost starts talking, going back to his Vietnam days, saying a Vietnam story. They're all listening to him. And then Sex Machine is hanging out by himself, and he's like seeing what's up. And he finds out he's feeling strange, and he's hearing voices, like demon voices, saying like kill and all that stuff. He's starting to vamp out. And then you see Frost. He's saying about a story that he was in a hole and he had to kill Viet Cong or something like that, or NVA forces in Vietnam. He had to kill him while they were asleep or something because they had taken out his platoon earlier, or some squad he was with. And then Frost is like, that day he was finishing up, and then you see vampire hands come behind him like real sharp hands, and it's Sex Machine. She bites, he bites Frost. Sex Machine bites Frost. And then Frost says, "You haven't bit me. You haven't bit me." And then Sex Machine's like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And I believe Scott gets near Sex Machine, and he just hits Scott in the face. And then Frost says, "Come on, Sex Machine." Sex Machine runs towards him, and then Frost gets Sex Machine, and then throws him the through the door, and then all the vampire bats come in. Frost turns into a vampire, goes, "Oh." And then all the vampire bats come in, and Jacob is bitten, and on the arm from the battle. He goes behind the. You don't see where he goes at first, but then when the vampire bats come, Seth gets Scott and Kate gets them by the hands and then takes them to a door back of the bar. They go running through there, and they run down the hall. Then they run through another door, and it has a lot of equipment and stuff. And they close the door. They're trying to close the door. Vampire comes out like this with his head, and then Seth just shoots it in the head and blows it up, blows the head, and he closes the door. Jacob has found refuge behind the bar, and he finds a shotgun and a bat. Now Seth and Kate and Scott, they find a lot of equipment in that back room, and we're gonna get to a little bit. Jacob gets up. He is bitten, and he does a sign of a cross with a shotgun and a bat. Pretty cool. He gets up from the bar. He sees all the vamps are looking at him. He starts shooting some of them, and then he goes back towards the hallway like this with a cross, and they're afraid of the cross. And he hits the door, and where where Seth and Kate and Scott are, and he gets in, and he gets there. Yeah, they let him in. He gets in there with the vampires behind him, but So when Jacob gets back there, he asks them like, "What's all this?" And then says like, "I think this is all the equipment all the bikers and the truckers had, or especially the trucks. They have big rigs. There's all the equipment, and the vampires probably brought them down. It has from toys and all that stuff. They find weapons in there. Jacob's like, what we can do." And they're like, Case, are you okay? And then Jacob says, "No, I'm not." And Jacob says, "What we could do is two options or something like you could kill me now, or we can get everything we have, everything we muster, and fight our way out. Before I turn, I have like half an hour or whatever." Um, so they're gonna get started. They're gonna try to find weapons. They're doing stuff. At first, I thought Scott had found condoms, but they're actually balloons, and they're gonna use. Jacob is gonna bless the water and the water balloons. They did have bottled water. I guess bottled water is used. Jacob blessed the water, and then Scott gets water balloons for like grenades, and he has a water pistol. Again, he uses holy water in there that's been blessed by Jacob. Um, Kate has a crossbow. She found a crossbow to use with arrows she can use. Jacob's gonna continue to use his bat and his shotgun, and Seth finds some kind of motorized thing. It's like a leaf blower thingy, but it has like a wooden spike in it. It goes moves like that. um, Before they're gonna fight, Jacob's like, first before we continue further when they're ready. Oh yeah, and then for the bullets that they have in the guns, they're gonna put crosses on them to destroy the vampires. And then Jacob's like, before we go any further, I need you all promise me if I turn, you're gonna kill me. And real quick says like, I promise, Jacob. And then how about you kids? And then the kids go, I promise, I promise. He's like, why don't I believe you? And then Jacob tells Kate, before I turn you undead, I need you to swear. And then Kate's like, all right, I do it. And he's like, good girl, you're gonna kill me. And then Scott's your time. We had him in last time. And then Scott's like, Jacob puts a gun to his head. And he goes, I'm gonna kill myself if you don't do it. Promise to do it. One, two, and then Jacob's like, and then Scott's like, you don't believe in suicide. And then he goes, it's not suicide if you're already dead. Two, and then Scott says, all right, I'll do it. And Jacob had said, I'm gonna become real cool, like I'm gonna become the undead once and that doll is Satan. So now they're gonna go into battle and try to fight their way out. Because and they have to do it quick because Jacob is in turn into a vampire. Um, I don't know who goes out first, Seth or Jacob. I think Jacob does the sign of the cross. He may have done it first with his bat and his shotgun, and they're gonna fight against the vampires. Now there's a perfect place to stop because I really enjoyed this movie and I want you all to enjoy it. I don't want to. I've already went through most of the movie. And I'm sorry, it's because I've seen this movie so many times. I love this movie. I will never stop watching it. Right till the day I die. I'll keep watching it. Um, I'm gonna stop there at the last battle, so you can't say I gave the whole movie away. I gave a lot of it away, but I seen it so many times. I'm sorry. I had to go over it because I love it so much. I know a lot of detail in it. Um, so we're gonna keep it there at the last battle. I'm gonna leave it for you guys. I'm doing this like I tell you. I was gonna go over scenes. I went to too much, most of it, and I'm gonna leave you guys with the choice of seeing it on your own. Look for it, see it on your own. See, it's an old film. It came out in 1996, I believe, and it was directed by Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino. Um, should have remembered this in the beginning. I don't remember it now. I got the juices flowing. Well, go if you want. Go look for this film. Maybe they're giving it somewhere for free. It is an older film. But they might, maybe you don't find it for free because it's such a good film. That's if you don't find it for free, it's why. It's because it's still good. It's one of those classics. They'll always want to charge because they can, make money. But it's because the film is so good. No disrespect, you guys. It's really good. It's gonna be hard to find for free. You could probably get it at Walmart for a cheap price or something. Maybe. No, I don't even think that. I haven't even seen them sell it for a while. So to me, it's a movie of quality. I'm gonna say this before I forget. This is. I don't even want to bring another movie into this, but these are my two favorite movies. This movie, Return from Dusk Till Dawn, the first one, and Return of the Living Dead. Those are my favorite movies of all time. And horror is my thing. Horror action. And this is even from including comedy, action, romance, horror. Horror is my favorite, so I'm gonna consider this more horror, but it's with action. But it's gonna be between horror because you got vampires, Return of the Living Dead as zombies. These two movies, I cannot say which one's number one. I don't have the guts to say which one is. I can't make a decision on it. So this is from my from my top two. This is a great film. It's my greatest. It has the best one liners. It has to me probably the sexiest man that ever lived on earth, George Clooney. Um, you got Salma Hayek, Quentin Tarantino. His movies are okay. Or and he did this one. This is great. I mean, he shouldn't be okay because he's really good. I don't know who did attributed more to the movie, Quentin Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez. Whoever was ahead of this film needs to have the credit for this film. It's my top two of all time. This one, along with Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead. I can't wait to do a movie on that. I strongly recommend you watch this movie. And if you watch, I'm sorry that I had to tell you stuff to hear. But the thing is, I'm gonna tell you a story real quick. Uh, I was in Corpus visiting some cousins. He allowed me to see his. It was at that time it was tape, and the tape had movies. It had movies like oh my gosh, really good movies. It had Desperado. It had a comedy called Senior Class. I don't remember. Lampoon Trip of a something about school. Really funny movie. Can't remember it now. National Lampoon Senior Trip. I think it was something like that. Something about school on a school bus. Really funny. And they had this one. And when I saw this one, you, uh, I saw it. I knew nothing about it. I thought it was a western, not a western, but something about Texas and just the two robbers fighting the cops. That's what I thought it was. And they went here and I saw vampires. I was like, oh my gosh, my eyes popped out, and it was the best ride ever had. Now you're gonna know about this movie because I told you about it. Sorry about that. But what you should do, this is what I do. If you find someone that hasn't seen this movie, don't show them the cover. Don't show them any evidence of vampires. Show it to them, and so what happened to me can happen to them. They're gonna think it's just two robbers fighting against fighting against uh, cops. They're gonna think that, and then when they get to the titty twister and they vampire, they're gonna be like, let their eyes pop up and watch them when they see the vampires come out and get scared like I did. That's what I recommend you do. And I'm sorry it didn't happen with you if I'm letting the cat out of the bag, but this is a review. I have to do these kind of things. This is what I want to do. Sorry for that. Don't worry, you'll live on. But but if you want to play that trick on somebody, do it. Don't tell them nothing about the. Don't even show them the screen. Let it start at the beginning where they're at the, like, fast forward it. Don't, because when you see like the title, you're gonna see like maybe vampires or whatever. Skip that. What you're gonna want to do is fast forward it before you're whoever you're gonna show it to. Fast forward to where they're in the bar. Let it right there. There's nothing showing vampires there. Let them sit there, and then let it write it out, see them, and then when the vampires turn, try not to remember not to see that part. Let see the expression on your friend's face or family member, whoever you want to play the trick on, and let them get scared with the vampires, because there's you have no clue the vampires are there. I recommend you do that if you want to play. Of course, don't play it on a kid or something like that, but but play it on an adult, a young adult or somebody. I mean, it's really cool. Once again, what makes this movie is George Clooney. Wants to me the sexiest man on earth. My opinion. You all have your own. I have my own. George Clooney. I'm not gay, but he is a very handsome, sexy man. He does a lot of one-liners. The vampires are great. Quentin is Tarantino plays pretty good. Salma Hayek, they all do a pretty well. Sex Machine. There's so much action and so much different things to this. It's just an awesome movie. The only people who are not gonna like this are people that can't handle it or don't like horror and stuff. Like a lot of family members I have, like sisters, they want romance and they're not into that. It's not for them. This is for us. This is for people or us horror action fans that like gore and all that stuff. And if you're into that stuff, you need to see this movie. I can't stress it enough. If I don't know, if someone didn't like it, it's because of that. They're just not into horror, whatever. If you're a horror action, I can't. I've never even heard of anybody not liking this movie. I'm sure they exist, but like I say, if they don't like it, they're probably into romance and they don't like horror at all. But anybody that likes horror and action, I never heard anyone say they don't like this movie. It is a freaking awesome movie. I recommend you see it. It's part of my favorite two movies of all time. I can't just. It's because of the one-liners and George Clooney. I'm just repeating myself. It's because I'm getting excited about it. Salma Hayek does a great job too. Sex Machine and Frost are really cool. There's just so many cool characters as well. It's just a great story. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. It's a great storyline. It's awesome. Now I need to shut up because I can rave and repeat myself all day about this movie because I really like it. So I better stop before and shut up before I can go all day talking how great I like this movie. But I'm hoping I brought up all the aspects. There's just so many. The makeup effects are awesome. Uh, you got this sexy waitress that turned into vampires. I mean, I'm trying to remember everything, but there's just so many aspects. If I forgot anything, so many aspects of this movie that makes it such a great movie, especially George Clooney. Like I'm never said, all right, I better shut up because I'm gonna keep ranting and ranting and ranting in a good way. I love this film. There's what thousands of movies out here. This is like I tell you last time, my best two movies of all time. This one and Return of the Living Dead, and I'm hoping I can make a video on that from Dusk to Dawn versus Return of the Living Dead, the best two movies of all time, and hopefully I'll do that soon. But I'm gonna shut up because I can rant all day and all night about this, how much I love this film. From Dusk to Dawn, please check it out. It's awesome. If you're not gonna check it out, you're a horror fan. You're missing out. All right, I'm gonna do it like this. From from Dusk to Dawn. Um, my name's Alberto, aka Destroyer 48. I'm gonna leave you with my saying, like I always do. The world will never be a perfect place, but we can all make it better. Till next time, I will see you again in the next review. And take care. Take care of yourself. Bye.